The following is an actual play Dungeons & Dragons podcast featuring a bunch of nerds stuck in their homes across the country. Listener discretion is advised. We don't know what the hell they're going to come up with next. This is Call of the Deep.
Hello, all my guys, gals, and non-binary pals of podcast land, and welcome back to another episode of Call of the Deep, a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition podcast, but also the second half of our Fireside chat. We're going to be spending this episode just going over key moments, talking about said moments, what the players enjoyed, some questions that we have based on certain choices made, I do for sure, but we shall get into it. Once again, my name is Mikey. You can follow me at Pop Culture Geek on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and you can follow us at D&D Vibe Tribe Productions. Make sure that you give us a like and follow to stay up to date on all of the projects that we have going on. As always, I am joined by my amazing cast of players. So we're going to do introductions. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Our Dwarven Ranger, Fedin, is the first to go.
Oh my god, that rhymes.
It
That
does.
was straight bars.
Yeah. All right. So, my name is Josh. I play Farron Stonehammer. He's a dwarven ranger, a grandfather who is exploring to have some fun and bring back stories for his many, many grandchildren for many years to come. I have a TikTok account under Only Josh and Ya with 2 underscores in there. So if you want to come hang out there, I just put together a entire party using the filter for D&D characters with Bill Martin, Bag Black, Glenn McDonald, the Gnome Fighter. So if you want to see what they get into in a one-man D&D TikTok campaign, come on over.
Yeah, speaking of JVL, you're next, bud.
Oh god. So I have not come up with a one-man D&D campaign, unfortunately, but I do want to watch it. That'd be so much more fun. My name is John Van Luling. I am an actor, improviser in the great state of Vermont, and I'm online as the JV Lexicon or Negative H13. I am doing my part right now where I've been kind of a little just non-creative for a while, just taking time to actually be with my family and do stuff like that, and it's been kind of fun. But now I'm stretching out and doing more things and doing silly voices and trying to make John squirt his water out his nose on occasion on this podcast. So that's basically all I'm going for. I have a lot of fun here playing human being, the simic hybrid druid of the waves, who likes to talk about all types of things that are boring and that his friends put in their mouths. That's really about it.
Can we just bring up that he kicks all the dead people in the head before sending them into the sea?
They must go in a certain way. They are kicked in the head to slide feet first into the ocean. So they are felt. But if you go head first into the ocean, Dagon looks at your feet as if it's your head. And you don't want to be a foothead. You know, anyone that has like a 5-foot head, it's disturbing.
It's so specific. So
Why
good.
would it not be? Do you have problems with specificity? I mean, I know you improvise on occasion, and specificity is usually a hard thing to come up with, but...
Can't talk
On
to
that
you.
lovely note, next player up to introduce themselves and just add to the chaos that is currently happening, we have John C.
Hi, my name's John Crossway. I am chaotic good and or evil, depending on the session. I am a teacher. I teach at a lot of different colleges. I am on TikTok. I'm taking a little bit of a break because I got mad at the algorithm. I'll get over that eventually. I got a few projects here and there coming down the pike. If you find me on IMDb, I've done a handful of horror movies, and I'm on a Netflix show called Go Corey Carson, if you want to hear me be goofy. And hopefully those bloopers never get out because I'll no longer get to be on a kid's show. I'm the NPC actor and improviser, and laugh a lot. I say a lot of inappropriate things and laugh a lot.
And he has been nice enough to become a full-time party member, so he gets to play our rogue, Fila, who has the EMP dagger, which is something that has been great to have.
I forgot about, and all of a sudden used it and went, oh, this thing's amazing.
All right, next player up that we have is Amador.
Okay, hello, I'm Amador, or Michael, whichever you like. I'm your friendly neighborhood normal guy that doesn't really have any projects going on, but I am your bite quarantined goblin on this here game. I play Corvus, our arcane archer, and I like to eat about anything that can fit in my mouth. Wink.
Nope, we got to keep it going. That's the after show.
Wink.
And then, of course, for our regular cast tonight, we have, last but not least, we have Josh M.
Hey guys, it's Josh, aka MG Preacher. You can follow me at MG Preacher on TikTok and MG Preacher Mark II on Instagram. And I play our party's Paladin, Esmar Paladin, Darak Valgod. As Amador said, I'm just a normal person. I have no idea what I am anymore. This crew gets so chaotic, I don't even know anymore.
To give a little bit of context, too, to all this, Josh down there that just spoke right now, he has become a rock in this endeavor, as he is in 6 of the 7 games that are currently going on as part of Season 1 of Vibe Tribe Production. So sometimes there's an amalgamation of different things that come out in terms of character voices, because there's a lot of them and taking space in his head, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
I'm afraid I'm running out of room up there.
I feel like that's all of us.
It's okay. Just get rid of some of your childhood memories. You'll have a lot more room after that.
Oh my gosh, stop.
Okay, let me just hit Control Delete on here. And what were we talking about again?
Careful, don't end the wrong task. You will mess up the entire thing.
Josh EXE has stopped responding.
No,
Josh EXE is
stop.
corrected. Uh-oh.
As far as our regular cast members tonight, we are down a player, our lovely Dragonborn Forcer, as JVL has coined it from the last episode, Fighter Sorcerer. He is not here tonight, but you can follow Jace, aka JC Vanguard, on the TikTok by that name. Go follow his stuff, show him some love. It's a great time. And of course, coming back from last episode to join us in the chicanery and tomfoolery that is called The Deep, we have the one and only Wes.
The one and only. Hi, I'm Wes, and I'm a part of the D&D Vibe Tribe playing on Knights of Paintown 2. So you can hear me there. And I play the character who shall not be named yet because I was told not to name him until the end.
Yes. So we will make sure to get to that little portion because it's going to be amazing. But yes, we are back with the second half of our Fireside chat, where this episode, we're just going to focus on all the batshit crazy things that has transpired so far over this part of the campaign. Well, if we're going to start somewhere, I guess we should start at the beginning. A lot of the buildup, and this kind of goes into my first point, as a dungeon master, especially when you're running a game, for me, my biggest challenge, and I wouldn't say it drove me nuts, but I was very careful in terms, because outside of the main campaign, the way that I like to run my games is I like to give characters, if they want to, their own kind of little side stories or personal arcs, if you will, that they get to explore throughout the campaign. So number one, finding the balance to make sure that I balance out the main campaign and this many side stories of these personal character arcs has been something that I wouldn't say has been a huge challenge, but my biggest concern going into all this is I wanted to make sure that I gave enough time to every single one of my players to get a chance to explore their side stories. So finding moments to do that has been a task, because I don't want one character to get all the attention and then forsake the other players and their side stories that we've cooked up together, which, by the way, I'm super excited for all these side stories to play out over the course of the campaign, but that has been my biggest struggle. Speaking of side stories, we actually got into one of those pretty early on, not even 2-3 sessions into the game, when you guys came upon the human trafficking ship, is the nicest way to put it. I see some faces.
Wait, was that before or after my time?
It technically also during.
I feel like
during.
it was a lot, but okay, so I guess this is a good point.
What?
We met
Okay.
Fedin there. We hadn't met you yet. We met Fedin on the island after
Mhm.
there was a whole thing. This was a cluster schmoz and a half.
So I guess this is a great place to start. JC, who's playing Tydak, our Dragonborn Forcer, after character creation happened, I reached out to every player and kind of asked them if they wanted a side story, and if so, how would we go about it? So, given the backstory that Tydak has, I pulled a lot of it. It is not the nicest, and so honestly, I'm grateful for the challenge, but that was like the first big hurdle that quote unquote I had faced in terms of this campaign. Finding a way to bring to light a topic that is not necessarily the nicest for people to talk about in terms of human trafficking and physical, emotional, and mental violence upon an individual and a group of people. And when I went into it, I actually was at a standstill because I was not sure, one, if I was comfortable doing it, but then once I kind of worked and processed through that, then the second part that I had problem with is trying to find a way to be able to explain the horrors of it without going into too much detail and potentially triggering some of the listeners who may have had similar experiences to this. I told my players after that game, but I was scared shitless the entire time leading into that moment because I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. Get across what needs to be said without going overboard.
I haven't heard that episode. So I had no idea that's what you had encountered before all of my shitstorm appeared. Oh my god.
It was difficult. And I mean, I guess this is a good place to kind of recap that just a tiny bit.
Well, even before that, I felt for you the entire time, Mikey, because not only was the content going to be tough, but then your players split ourselves into 3 parts as we got into it. So you had to concentrate on 3 different places in this ship. Like, this is like episode 2. And already, like, they're all like, we're going to do our own thing. We're going to do it. And this ran off.
So before I get into the little recap of that, so what ended up happening is that from their ship on the way to the island nation of Gundarlun, there was some smoke signals in the distance, and as they got closer to said island, there was this marooned ship kind of on the beach. And after doing some investigation and some rolls, we come to find out that the ship belongs to a royal family that is known as the Rajanis. So I took a lot of inspiration for this side story and these quote-unquote antagonists, a lot from the Hindu culture, so India and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was suited based on what I was given. Once that was discovered, Tydak realized, we have to go in there now. We got to figure out if there's anyone there because he recognized that ship as a ship that trades in human beings and other creatures per se. So they ended up going to the island. And even before I got a chance to kind of really set the scene, Tydak's just like, I'm running towards the ship. Once I mentioned that there was a hole in the front of it for them to enter, he's like, I'm in there, I'm gone. I'm like, wait, is that what you want to do? And he's like, yeah. And then his character just ran off. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And then from there, everyone kind of just split because we had Corvus and we had, at that time, our barbarian Endymion. They decided to climb on top of the ship. He was just chilling on the beach to be on lookout.
I was enjoying all of the flora and the fauna of the indigenous plants and such.
And then in the meantime, Tydak had decided to run inside the ship from the hull with the cleric Gundarlun going inside and following after him to make sure he doesn't do anything dumb.
And he did.
Which we'll get into in a little bit. But
wow.
That was that little aspect. Like, we were barely in episode 2/3, and the party had decided to split 3 ways. I was just like, okay, so we got to make sure I give time to everybody who's on doing something.
Meanwhile, tackling the very tough subject of where Tydak came from and all that stuff and what was going on, and trying not to, pull focus, which was insanely hard, Mike. I give you full credit for that.
Wow.
I appreciate it because, like I said, I was already nervous enough to do it, and then on top of that, when the party decided to split, I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? So I made the quick decision that Tydak I focused on him and Gundarlun first. So trigger warning, spoiler warning, if you haven't listened to this For those of you who are not comfortable with the issues of human trafficking, physical, mental, and emotional violence upon individual people and a group of individuals as well, warning has been given. So as soon as Tydak entered, what I ended up doing is that he ended up seeing a bunch of the boxes and the satchels in the hull of the ship, which is where all the cargo is stored. But instead of normally finding like food supplies and ship supplies and normal goods, there were different cages of different sizes, some kind of reeking of a mixture of the scent of like iron from the cage, as well as a coppery smell. And upon further investigation, there was a kind of dried coppery kind of color on some of these cages, which basically was dried up blood. And that kind of triggered a memory for Tydak, in which, as the audience and the other players got to hear, Tydak grew up as a fight pit arena fighter, and he was kept in captivity, and he was experimented on because of his lineage of being a gem dragonborn. So Tydak has one of his horns completely broken off, and he was an experiment to the antagonist for his side story, the Rajani twins. So he was subjected to fights and cruel experiments and kept in captivity. And at one point in this flashback, Tydak overheard the murder of his mentor in the fight pit, who happened to be a Loxodon, aka an elephant person, which was the source that awakened his sorcerer kind of powers. The twins are not the nicest people, let's just put it at that. They are complete douchebags, and that his sole mission is to get back at them and find revenge. But yeah, that was one of the toughest parts that I think as a DM so far in my DM career that I've had to have, is because this was a thing that was given to me as part of a character's backstory. This was something I wanted to incorporate it, but I wanted to make sure that it was done in a way that came across what needed to be done of how horrible this kind of thing is, but do it in a way where I don't overdo it. And just as an added layer to it too, as a minority creator and as a minority in general, given the history of my Latin culture, there's bits and elements of it that are kind of a little bit unnerving, given the history of Mexicans and Puerto Ricans, because that is my heritage, and kind of some of the things that were done to those types of peoples. It was tough for me to kind of get through knowing my own history of where I came from and the history of my people, and kind of translating that for someone else in a game. I was just like, I don't know if I can go through with this, but after having conversations with some other people and then making sure I did my homework and my due diligence, I was just like, I hope it turns out well. And I think I got the job done, and I did feel a sense of relief afterwards. But yeah, right out the gate, session 2, session 3, I already had to tackle something this tough.
That's wild. I didn't know it started that heavy out of the like, I still didn't know. I have no idea.
Right out the gate.
You wonder why we were so screwed up when we got to Gundarlun. This is where we began.
Because I remember those first few episodes when I showed up like, hey, I'm going to be funny. And like, and every time you talked about the previous session of the past, it was always like, oh yeah, that happened. Yeah, that was, oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was like this. It wasn't somber, but it was definitely like, that sucked. Can we move on, please? And I was like, what happened? I missed something.
What I will give credit to also is that the cast also, we had humor in it, that things that came out of it that were natural. It wasn't forced humor, like forced joking about the subject, but like the fact that Darlin said, I feel like I'm just going to mend the hole in the ship so we can take the ship with us afterwards. So that's why we're dragging 2 ships into port. Our cleric sat there and mended a giant hole in the ship. After we had this horrible thing, he's like, yeah, we're going to take it with us. We need an armada. We're going to do it.
That's something I've always wanted to ask. I was like, why do you have 2 ships? And why is that a thing? Like, oh my God.
We got a ship and another party member at the same time. It was a great time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
after that little incident, and then kind of just going along with that scene, and after a certain encounter with a Goliath and a fish person,
I remember
who ended up choking out Tydak in the process, which was so funny.
Dude, rear naked choke. Just
He rolled so many ones. It was perfect.
Wow.
See,
The episode, that's what it is. That's the episode I watched. That's the one you sent me. See, do you want to play this game? And I remember laughing like, why would you do that to a fish? Like, I remember that being hilarious.
extra oily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started off heavy, and then it kind of got back to the quirky funniness.
And then
It was so
frustrated
great.
the hell out of you.
I was just like, well, I mean, this is what I signed up for, so I was just like,
This
you know.
game is very bipolar.
Well, because I felt bad for Mikey too. This is second thing in there. You're dealing with the heavy subject, the stuff we're dealing with, and then your big bad gets basically nerfed in the first 2 seconds by the druid. For like,
I was gonna
so
bring that up.
Let's get into that, because that leads to the next part of this little saga on this island adventure. Because promptly after that, while all this is going on, he was still chilling by the hole, and then he sees a human come out of the jungle and I love it because this is what we're naming blink dogs now. 4 poof dogs.
Yeah.
Poof dog. Poofus doggus. That's the
Blink dogs
scientific
have the
name.
ability to fade in and out of reality and
They
to
go
appear
poof.
in other spots. And these in particular make a poofing sound when they do it.
I have not seen a poof dog. Where have all these poof dogs been?
They
So-
die.
Might have killed them in extinction.
Oh, you killed all of them?
Yes.
What a beautiful creature! You killed
So
all of them.
So I had this fight all set off. So the episode that was full of the heaviness, like it ended when Hugh decided to, you know what, JV, I'm just gonna let you do it because it was great.
I saw the guy pop out of the forest, so I dove into the hole and like hid behind something, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" They all kind of clamber down, like, "I don't know what's going on." This guy's like calling. I think he was calling somebody out, or like about to like say like, "I know you're there. We have these hostages." So no one's doing anything. They're kind of all sitting around. So Hugh just gets up, licks his forehead, puts it down, and casts Entangle on the ground where the big bad is. And the guy like really screwed his roll up. So he's restrained going into the first round of combat. Him and 2 dogs are both restrained. So these big bad can't move. And he continues to screw up.
Oh
Yeah, so
God.
like that was the end of that episode. Then we get to the next one where basically the entire episode is just them fighting. So I like had all this planned. They're gonna fight.
Fedden comes along.
Yeah, they fight 4 blink dogs and, you know, this captain of the ship who happens to work for the Rajani family. So I was ready to, this is going to be the first challenge as a fight and everything. No, it did not. We did get the introduction to Fedden, who comes out like a badass. He's just like, hey, what's up? And then just as soon as it's his turn, starts flinging arrows all over the place.
No. I felt for you, Mikey, because I knew having DM'd games as well, and I was sitting there going, "You planned this. This was going to be a big long thing. This is going to be interesting. Test the party, really get it there." No, they found some way around it that screwed you over, and you officially got your stripes as a DM that day because you're like, "Okay, I got to improvise off of this. Figure out what's going to do. Why won't my guy get himself out of these tangling vines? What the hell is happening to these people? They're beating the crap out of me. Oh, good, he's finally free and he's dead."
Yeah,
So I want to just apologize real quick, Mikey, because I enjoyed your pain a little too much that day. I had just finished a home game where players had to face off against one of the eldest of Fae,
Oh my gosh.
like the masters of all of Faerie, and had to face off against her, and they managed to find the one thing that would stop her from doing anything. They actually found that random little trinket in episode 1 and held on to it the whole time. Nobody does that, but they did. And the one thing that can kill the big bad, they have it, and they're dangling it 15 feet above her head because it's got an aura of 20 feet with a 30-foot chain attached to a guy with winged boots.
Oh my god.
I had just gotten done having a very similar situation of this huge big bad that was a level 40 creature should have wiped all these level 19 characters, but no, they totally just ruined the entire fight. And I kind of enjoyed being on, having the boot on the other foot for a moment. And I apologize for that.
I don't think it's a ruined fight. It just went differently than you thought it was going to. And it gave us more fun to play with because literally, again, Tydak coming out there, he wants to kill this guy and he still can't swing his sword. He can't figure anything else out. The only thing that worked were his wings, and then nothing else did. He got his breath weapon to go off once.
Yeah.
Like it was just it's watching the
I remember
advantage-
this. There's
Yeah.
jokes now that make way more sense about like, oh, you're gonna breathe fire this time? Shut up. Like, oh, that's right. Apparently that failed. Okay.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, so
Mikey, you did the best thing ever, and I think you gave our audience members also the best thing ever, which is this is not going to be a perfect campaign. This is not going to be like your standard storytelling, and you need to come along for the ride each time, or it's not going to happen any way that you can understand.
Yeah, that fight, I earned my stripes that fight because, I mean, in hindsight, it was a great time overall. We got some fun moments like Tydek, just the only thing that worked was his wings and his breath finally. We found out that our cleric's spiritual weapon was a pillow.
Yep.
And then, like, I believe that was the origin of Sexy Ned Flanders, too.
Yeah. Yes, it was. He's like, he's wearing nothing at all. Nothing
Nothing
at all.
Nothing at all.
See, and the cool thing is he just rolled with it. He's like, yep, I am Sexy Ned Flanders now.
I'm sad
it's
he's gone,
Forever in
'cause
our
I really
memory.
wanted to learn more about the voices in his head now in the book.
Yeah, same. I really wanted to know what that storyline was gonna go. Or with Wills and Dimian when he would have those visions when he would get knocked the fuck out. Literally the first session. You guys remember?
Down.
He went down.
Okay, so he went down. Remember why he went down too? He went down because of Tydak. Tydak was the one who Tydak rolled a 1 and he failed in his attack, which hit the barbarian, and he went down.
And because it was a psionic attack, it was his psionic breath weapon. Endymion was raging and couldn't prevent that wasn't resistant to psychic damage.
So he went down, and this is the first fight of the campaign. They were all
the only one that went down.
He was the only one that went down, and these guys were at level. You guys were only at level 1, right? Yeah.
Level 1. So we had gotten on the boat, gotten out of port, had our first fight with pirates, who, if I remember correctly, we almost didn't have them board the ship because we had cut most of the ropes, and then they got on there and things went down. Yeah, you set the ship on fire.
Yeah, you also set their ship on fire.
I think we were level 2 because I already had the Goodberry spell because we worked that into how the various slaves that had been on the island had survived for a few weeks.
No,
I think we had just leveled up.
So this pirate fight happened before they got to the island.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Mikey leveled us up to level 2 to be level 2 at the island.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing too. I wasn't I mean, it was a glorious and it was a great moment because it was funny as all hell. But I wasn't expecting someone to go down. I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? But I'm glad it did because it worked out in my favor because then we got this premonition vision thing before Dimian was brought back.
Wow.
So we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, back to the dogs. The dogs got roasted and died. I earned my stripes, but it was not a good day because my dice cursed me, and so
were they load bearing? Like, were the dogs a part of the story, and they just got?
No,
I mean they technically still are because Hugh has 2 vials of Blink Dog blood in his backpack.
Yep,
so wild.
Poof dog
it's
blood.
ridiculous.
I want to see poof dogs. Like, that sounds amazing to me.
Can I be our this game's mascot is just a poof dog, Patreon exclusive? Poof dog
familiar.
posters?
It's a poof dog.
It's a poof dog.
It's a poof dog.
We're gonna give the crew the poof dog. Speaking of crew, because it was this episode after the fight too, so one of the bigger story bits for Tydak's side story is after investigating the charred body of this captain, he finds a wanted poster of him, and scribbled underneath is a message from the Rajani twins is that there's a bounty on his head for anybody who can bring him back to the capital where the twins are at. And then in a little note to the captain himself, it's important they do so because Tydak is the key to something. We don't know what it is yet, but he's important.
A really messed up lock that you have to actually not stick your key into to make it work.
Jeez Louise. And after all that shenanigans, so that fight also gave us your guys' warship.
And our name, I believe, too.
Yep,
Yeah.
because JC, while all this was going on, after his little bit was done, he actually drew up the new emblem for your guys' ship, and you guys got the name of the Scorched Shield, which is, I guess, now officially the party's name.
It's canon. We used it when we talked to King Red Axe.
So the Scorched Shield is this party's name, so it's a great time. Speaking of which, man, when we got to the island and then y'all had free reign for the night before you had to go meet with King Red Axe, my god, was that probably the funnest episode up to that point. Once again, the party split, but this time I was okay with it.
It was planned.
It was a planned split. And
this is when you came in.
Yeah, this is where good old John came in because I was like, hey, I need you to do NPC duty. So just roll. And probably up to this point, you have given us probably one of the most iconic NPCs, at least to this group.
And you and Mikey spent a good half hour trying to see if you could make me blush.
Oh yeah!
So much fun.
I forgot about that!
What was great was because you would, and this is, behind the scenes stuff. I was texting Mikey, like, well, can we do this? Can we do that? And Mikey, of course, can't look at Mikey's phone while Mikey's doing the thing. So I was like, I'm going to have a thing for dwarves. Hang on. And that was it. That's all I said. And I was like, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait. And I wanted it to go full on. I'm going to be all over this dwarf, not knowing that you were a 300-year-old grandpa. By the way, that's new information to me.
That's a grandpa.
He carries it well. He doesn't look it. If you see his image, he actually looks like he's about 150.
But now the truth is, that girl dirty. She likes something very specific.
She wants to tug the beard while she rides cowgirl.
Yeah, but she's looking for someone 300 years old. Yeah, that's.
He wants it to look like a baby arm holding an apple.
I mean, we almost went there. I was getting ready to. I was gonna drug a drink. Like there was gonna be all kinds of things that were gonna happen to.
Meanwhile, Wesley's over here dying.
The best part is the fact
that is coming in.
Had you drugged the drink, he was probably going to drink the drink before he got it.
Exactly. Like there was a lot of like. I was gonna make it really dark and really kind of awkward and strange. Like, no, maybe not. I was gonna go full court press, but then it turned into this weird bashful blushy thing, which is even funnier. Because Mikey has this brash, like, go find yourself a man. Like, it was great.
Again, I just rolled with what was happening. I was like, "Oh, we're going here. Let's just full send it. Yes, and."
Just all
and Farron is looking at the two of you like you're wee babes, and just, oh, you poor darlings, give you a pat on the head and send you to bed. You had too much to drink. I'll man the tavern. You're going up to bed.
Just go talk to him. I don't want to talk to him. I can't do nothing first. You don't understand. I was so like giddish and free. But it's funny. I had one time
Every time Fedden talked, you would automatically go, and somebody crashes in the back and falls down. She has to God damn it!
I have to go in the back. I have to go by. I need to go do something else. I gotta tell you.
And just bam.
Yeah, I think there's a line in there that's also like, could you come out here, please? No, I can't. Like, I'm just not even trying.
Nope.
To come back out.
It was. Yeah, and see, at that point, like, and that's where that episode ended, like, because we ended on the night, then you guys basically had free reign the next episode.
We did end there, that's right, because there was a whole conversation about, I remember the pamphlet conversation, about this one's in crayon and this, and then...
and they're still plastered to the wall.
I was going to say,
yes! They're still plastered!
On the wall. Different versions of it? Yeah.
Legends have it, you can still feel the soppiness even though you're not touching it.
It never dries.
Nope.
It was a trip. Let's just go into that night out because geez Louise, all of it was good for different reasons, and like, so unfortunately our cleric's not here, but we're still going to talk about it because it was a fucking fun, hilarious, amazing moment when he went to the bookstore and got more than he bargained for. Oh, and this was also the time too because Liz, one of our... Go follow her on Liz McJames on TikTok. She's great. She was just listening into all the shenanigans that was happening while we were doing this. And she was commentating in the Discord. My God, when we got to the bookstore, I wasn't planning on it for like a good 15 minutes. We kept coming up with like fantasy erotic titles. It was ridiculous. Darlin played it perfectly too because the book owner was just like, come here. And she kept getting in his personal space. It's like, I don't want you in my personal space. And she locked the door and then he started blushing. It was ridiculous. It was great.
It was creepy and weird, but in a fun kind of way. Like it was still...
It ended up being really fun though then it went from being creepy and Darlin's like, why are there people coming out of books? And I
love that he tried to show the gods in the books the pamphlet he had from me.
Yes, that part killed me. I was just like, this is too good. And that's the only downside. I was just like, I was so excited because we had talked about the side story bits and we kind of figured out something. And then it kind of just went into a completely different direction, still on the same track, but it expanded way bigger than I thought it was going to at that point. And I was like, okay, we're on a god quest. Here you go, Darlin. You wanted to learn more about the pantheon of gods? Here we go. And so I'm kind of sad that we kind of don't get to visit that anytime soon because unfortunately Darlin had to step away. But I am happy though because I do still get to use bits of that, just like I can use bits of Endymion's backstory and kind of still let it play out in the campaign. It just sucks that they had to step away because then that's the other part that I struggled with. I was just like, okay, side stories have been introduced. Oh no, they're not here. Rewrites, hold up. I was just like, well, this version of the script doesn't work. Let's try to figure this out, X, Y, and Z. So behind the scenes, I'm like, I still need to make this narrative make sense, but what am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, let's do this.
I think those things will come back, though. I think that the way campaigns go, and the way at least this campaign kind of feels, these weird things circle back all of a sudden. And it's like, that's lore I didn't know. That's going to come back at some point for some reason.
For sure. And I kept it open-ended because I was just like, I definitely want to revisit this. So I kept it open-ended. But that was the first part. Then we get to the second greatest moment, because the first one was just that whole bookstore interaction. That was hilarious. Then we probably get the most greatest NPC that this campaign has ever seen so far. You shake your head, but my God, it was stuck in our brains for a week. And then it just, some of us started using it in our everyday vernacular. It was ridiculous.
Hello, you need this?
She's
Hello,
You need this.
you need this?
Hello.
And
Do
that
you need
mask-
this?
I just grabbed
Hello.
it.
Do you need this?
I had that hockey mask here in the closet because
exactly.
I'm just gonna throw this on and see what happens. Hello.
'Cause I was
Pick it up
getting real Navi vibe.
Yeah, I know.
Listen. Look, listen. Look. Hey, look out. Look, hello. Yeah, it's what that was.
Watch out!
Watch
You
out,
dumbass!
dumbass. Just Link in a padded room. Hello. Look out. Hello.
Honestly, that scene was supposed to only be like 5-10 minutes. It turned to like 20-25 minutes, only because for the first half of that, like, I was crying of laughter. Like, tears were falling down my face. And I'm looking around. I see other players try not to crack up. I see JC's just dying in his video feed.
I think I
We were
turned my
cracking up
camera off at one point because I was just like this, head down. I've just spent 30 minutes fighting both these women off, and now there's a little gnomish Navi running around trying to force sales on people.
Meanwhile, the two people talking to her, one is just repeating her stuff back to her and then trying to talk to her.
Oh, great.
And the other one is like,
no, I don't need this. Do you need this? One of the best discoveries about that scene was when the voice did shift. That was a cool discovery for me.
Yeah.
Because spoiler alert, Mikey has sent me a lot of beautiful things, and I ignore about half of them. And I'm sorry, Mikey. I read them, though. But you have that in here. Despite her demeanor, she's very loving and knowledgeable about it. Yeah, very loving, very kind, just only has 4 words. Hello, do you need this? I don't know who said, are you cursed or are you this?
that was Amador.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah, and it just triggered like this whole like, hello, you need this. And it was just this, it was creepy but felt good, if that makes any sense. It was like, there's the truth again. There's someone figured it out.
And then we figured out to give you my sopping wet paper and a pen, and we could actually talk to you.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
On my back.
Yeah.
I don't know if where that character is now.
she's still in Gundarlun, and I still have plans because after that I was just like, I can't just put her to the wayside. I was just like, she's gonna. Well, and then on top of that too, because it ended up being a benefit to me because you ignored half the stuff I sent you, which is fine.
I don't mean that.
I just gave you.
I just mean I apologize for going on tangents, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my.
No.
I'm sorry.
And I appreciated it, and here's why: because like when that curse thing got brought up, that was something that we never discussed. That never came to my mind, and then you just rolled with it. I'm like, ooh, I have an idea, because through that little interaction, Corvus learned that she is cursed the same way that he is. 5 the same person who cursed them too. So I was just like, yes, plot point, let's go.
That's right. I'm remembering that now. Yeah, that was a trip. It was funny that it's not a cop out for me as an improviser, because I've done jokes like that before, play a character that can only say one thing or jokes and things like that. But the excitement was to be in a group of folks that I have not really met at all day one and be like, I'm just going to throw this out there and see what happens. Oh, they're responding. Oh, you're going to play back? Oh, okay, this is going to go just fine, which is great. It could have fallen flat on its head and just been like, why is this dude doing that? So I'm glad you all were like willing to go.
Again, that's a testament to Mikey again, because he put together a group that one's either like trusted themselves enough to do it or whatever else it is. And personally, I'm like sitting there going, oh, I've seen this character. I've been on stage with this character. I know how to play with this character. Let's go have fun.
You need this?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I do need. Hello. Yes, I do. I do need this. And
I feel like Magilla?
Magilla, yeah.
I feel like Magilla has hella money. Like, sells everyone.
Yeah, because she is the head of trade in Gundarlun, so like she do.
All of it.
I'm pretty sure she's the head of the Assassins Guild there too. Like she's just like secretly taking people out,
putting black hands on notes and then sending them in the mail. Yeah.
And then this kind of to conclude that little portion too, because towards the end of this is Fila comes back in and she shows the Dagon pendant, and that's when Hugh that shift happens for Hugh. He's like, oh no.
Yeah, that was cool too.
That was really intense.
Not expected whatsoever, but yeah, I made the choice then. I'm like, okay, you're going to see why Hugh doesn't like you, except he does now for some reason. I have no idea where that came from, other than the fact that we've shared stuff. But
I think I know where it came from, but like we'll get into that in a little bit because that happens
Digons
later.
Be Digons.
It was great. Okay, so then let's get into this last portion. Each section of this whole entire session where you guys just had free reign of the town, it was so great. But this one was probably the most what the fuck. I was like, what the hell are we doing here? Because then we get to Tydak, who the twins gave him that little flyer to go to this fight club at the Crooked Mast or whatever we called the tavern. And so he gets there and just sees the poor little penguin boy get thrown out on his ass. His bag gets taken. So then, of course, Tydak is just like, I'll get it back for you, but I want all the stuff in your bag. And then,
really
of course,
funny about this, and I'm glad you bring this up. I went off mic after I took a minute to go to the bathroom and came back. I had no idea who this penguin was. I had no idea this penguin had a bag of it. I got here and I was like, what are we even talking about? The penguin has a bag. Oh shit, this is evolving quickly. I had no idea where the impetus for that was.
And then, of course, like in my head, I was just like, JC is finagling right now. How do I respond to this? And then I was like, you know what? Yes, and here we go. Yes, you can have what's in my bag. Just get it back for me. And then
pause on Prince, who has become both the most hated and loved character in this entire game.
Oh, Prince is so funny.
So, okay, we will get into that because, like, the whole journey that Prince has been on with the relationships with this party is so interesting, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, after the finagling, we just get into the tavern, and that's when, like, in the best way possible, and I mean this in the best way possible, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden it's like you just go up to the bar and you see Caspian, he's the owner, blah blah blah, and then I'm like, John with it, and then you're just like, bam! I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
This is trade secret. There was an old BBC show called Mongrels that not a lot of people in the States saw. And it was actually kind of like, it was a puppet show that would look like Sesame Street, but they were all animal characters. And it was kind of like Family Guy. It was really, really dirty. So it was dirty puppets telling dirty jokes. And one of the characters is a character named Marion, who sounds exactly like this. It is the exact same character. He's kind of French, but a little stupid and kind of an idiot. So in my head, I was like, I'll just do that, but do it seriously. And that's just where that came from. Like, so you want me to do what with you? Okay. It's an ass bag. We want your ass bag back. That is why this is. That was so much fun just to do that.
And then the fight leading up to it.
Oh my gosh. That was out of left field. And then like the introduction happens, which was great, by the way, John.
Did you roll for those characters? Like, did you just all of a sudden start making a sheet?
Inside DM tip, like, do you really want to know?
I'm very curious. I want to know what happened.
I had planned for him to fight something, but the stats and what actually ended up happening, all off the top of my head.
Fantastic.
When you just like introducing the family, I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. I look at my notes, I'm like, this wasn't on script, but fuck it, here we go. But see, that's why I love this moment, because I was just like, flipping the script on its head. Everything that I had planned, I was like, fuck it, just throw it out, let's just roll with it. And my god, did it turn into probably the most infuriating as a dungeon master, but the most glorious moment. Fucking sleep, man. Sleep!
You almost got him that first half, though. That first sleep wasn't gonna work. But you were using horde rules, right? You were using, or like whatever the rules
again
were.
Off the top of my head, I was just like, I'm just gonna use some like I just came up with the stats in my head, just wrote it on a sticky note, and just went with it. It was glorious.
Something about that fight pit bar tavern place that was just the descriptions of it that we all had were just like pictures on the walls and T-shirts that we sold and everything else we talked about that day. It's like, Was it someone said there's like T-shirts that have the family on it, but now they're like all crossed off, but we were selling them anyway. Like all those, it was so vibrant.
We literally turned this
And-
tavern into our own wrestling promotion.
And
we
pro
love.
DM tip: post-it note NPCs are amazing.
And load bearing apparently, like are holding up all kinds.
Oh
of
yeah, oh yeah.
I was expecting
You'd be
this
surprised
fight.
how well. If you get a break in the book somewhere, you take that, throw a little post-it in there, use the glue on it. Oh, it works great.
Damn.
I was expecting that fight to at least go a little more rounds, and then he failed sleep the first time. I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, we can keep going. And then he's like, I'm going to do it again. And then he succeeded. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yes.
I was so upset. And I forgot. See, I had forgotten at this point, too, that I forgot that there was some sorcerer shenanigans going on. I'm like, damn it, Jace. I was like, I forgot you have magic.
That's so funny.
Because up to this point, he really hadn't been using his spells, and then this was really the first time where he actually used the spell. I'm like, fuck, I forgot you had magic. He put him to sleep, decapitated all of them. I'm like, yep. So it was infuriating, but it was glorious. And then we get into probably, as a DM, the most questionable thing that happens after he gets Prince's bag back. The candle was really cool because I had created that, and it ended up coming in handy a little bit later. Then he gets like this bracelet, and then what happens next episode? He's like, oh, let me put it on and see what happens. See, as a DM, like, I put that in there, and I remember, like, after the fight, he's just like, I'm not putting this on, it's probably cursed or something. I'm like, damn it, he's being smart about it. Oh, well, we'll see what happens. And then I was like, at first I was like, I gotta finagle a way to get this bracelet on him. And then sure enough, I didn't have to do anything, because next episode, he's like, let me put this on real quick. And then a little needle comes out, pricks his blood. He can't get it out. Fedin, and upon investigating it, finds that there's like some runic symbols keeping it on him. And then the Rajani family crest is there. And so then it was determined that they're tracking Tydek now. So they have a beacon to kind of give off its location through arcane means. We got through that episode, but that was part of the Halloween episode from hell. Like, half the players were missing because of Halloween, which was fine. Then the program we were using kept crashing. Then we just jumped onto Discord.
I heard the horror stories about this. I had Discord running and all hell was breaking loose in the Discord.
We spent 10, 15 minutes like taking a break to get Craig all set up. I was so upset. But then down the line too, like JVL had to edit the whole mess that was that episode. And so I felt bad. And that was also the episode too, where everyone was dunking on Prince.
Yeah, what happened?
At this point, once we got everything situated, we picked back up in the tavern the next morning. Fedin had made breakfast for everybody.
He had taken over the tavern.
He had taken over the tavern, so it was glorious.
That's right. I was upset I missed this episode because I wanted to do more with Fedin.
It was glorious. But yeah, so during breakfast, Prince comes in with Dedek, and that was going to be the formal introduction to Dedek and his character.
I was worried I was going to get into a fight with one of the party members.
So, and because we had that session 0 prior, Josh, between Prince and Dedek, like they had formed a friendship. But at this point, the party still, I don't even know if they still fully trust Prince. And like I rolled with it because I was like, it's a game. There's no real personal feelings involved. But damn, everyone was dunking on Prince and just giving him shit.
Well, I also felt terrible because I know you made that character based on what I had created in session 0.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm going to test this out and see what happens. And then Hugh is just like dunking on him. I was just like...
By the by, just for those who are watching this who are not familiar with this particular episode, Prince is not an actual penguin. He is a Aarakocra with the penguin race and penguin features. Instead of like an eagle or a hawk, he has the features of a penguin.
Which was perfect to do for this.
It was never mentioned what species of penguin, so we all have these different ideas of which penguin it is.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for one of these moments from these things where he just kind of sits there and stands there in place like, I can't move. I have an egg on my feet.
I have a pebble. Like, I'm just waiting for it. Yeah, I'm waiting
for it.
Or do you want him to start like having Robin Williams' voice as he dances around?
Oh my gosh. Stop.
Let me explain something to you.
I'm not gonna lie, I legit thought of that for a hot second. I was like, I can't seriously keep that up because I'll be cracking up every time.
I can just imagine when Prince gets older, he's gonna end up turning more into Lovelace.
Nah. But yeah,
All
I
the
can just
penguin
picture
jokes.
him just like waving off to like adventurers going out on their first major adventure. I'll be telling your story, Happy Feet, long when you dead and gone.
It's so funny.
and then I remember after the game, yeah, that kind of leads into it. JVL, you're just like, Mikey, I am sorry that I was dunking so hard on Prince. I know you put work into this character, and we just shat all over. There was like a brief 2 seconds. I was just like, damn, they don't like him. I don't even know if we're going to keep him in the party. But I was just like, you know what?
Prince is great.
I was sad for like 2 seconds. Then I got over it. I was just like, you know what? We're just going to keep rolling with it. We'll see what happens. And it just adds a different dynamic.
And as I said before,
Every party needs that one person that nobody likes.
Party.
Yeah, and that was my biggest concern because Danik was ready to throw hands at this point.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, no, you're not supposed to fight yet.
Are you
Yeah,
the
it's
guy
like-
that beat up a penguin in a bar? Yeah, that was me. Wait, what?
There was also a couple of times where I thought people were going to throw hands, which actually goes into the next part because after you guys visited King Red Axe, we got the little revelation in the jail of the Rakshasa, which was a word that everyone had a hard time pronouncing at some point.
Do 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 do
Right.
do.
We had rock lobster for a while. That's right.
Forgot about that portion. But
I
yeah,
haven't. I've listened to it multiple times.
But yeah, we get a little bit of introduction to Corvus's little side story, and we get the revelation that he can't taste anything. Well, I mean, it was hinted at and it was kind of given, but we get the official confirmation. His taste was stolen.
Yeah, we knew he was tasteless beforehand, but now we know he can't taste.
Heyo. Yeah.
Oh,
Corvus is the one that can be a chef, right?
Yeah, and he's the chef, so that's the funny bit. It leaves that little open, be like, I need you to come to Waterdeep. Come find me at the Lucky Lady. We'll talk more. I was just like, So there's that point. Then we get into probably one of my favorite moments of more serious RP is when you guys made camp on the way to Fiskerback and you guys took watch and kind of had those little small character moments. Everyone knocked it out of the park with going off of like who they were paired with. Well, I mean, I love that moment because one, I didn't really have to do anything. I just let you guys roll with it. The stuff that came out of it, I was like, holy shit, this is beautiful. This is amazing. That conversation between Fila and Hugh was amazing. I wasn't expecting Prince and Tydak to go anywhere, but it actually kind of did. It was very interesting. It was amazing.
I thought the party was gonna suffocate me because I kept snoring.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that was right.
You remember that? That's right.
Yeah, I do remember that.
There's something cool too that because you have so many side stories and plot lines, and they all moments like that, they all kind of come together at the same place, which is the benefit of having a campfire. Hey,
Fireside chat.
a fireside chat, if you will.
It comes full circle.
Full circle.
And it actually gave me more information about what and where this Great Dagon is and where this should be going and could be going. Because I actually didn't remember the pendant until you said it in the game. I was like, oh, that's right, I'm wearing that. Oh, okay. And then learning about the pamphlet and then talking to Hugh, which gives me stuff to think about games and games and games from now. It was lovely. It was a lot of fun.
That was a really beautiful moment because I was just like, oh my goodness, they took it. And I was just like, I just let it happen because I was like, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to interrupt because this is organically, it was just coming together. And that was the other thing that I had to, because really this was the first interaction that Fila or you, John, as the player, actually had a good heart to heart with one of the other players. I was just like, those are the moments I live for because it just organically happened. I'm like, holy shit, this is beautiful. And I loved every single moment of it.
And it was also good to have a good scene partner in it that would be like, okay, we're going to go here. We're going to play this down. And like, it's not just informational. Like, this is going to be revelatory in certain ways, which was perfect.
For any of the theater people or actors listening, yeah, it was nice. It's very cool to be like, oh, hey, I'm going heads up with somebody. This is cool.
And like in hindsight too, because like when we had the conversation after that session and you're just like, I would be lying if I said I wasn't looking for kudos and validation because like as a game master, you want to know from your players if you think you're doing a good job and all that stuff. And at this point, everyone was telling me that I was doing a good job. And I was like, yeah, but there's certain things I can do better. When me and you, John, had the conversation after that session and we were just texting a little bit and you told me it's just like, this is very therapeutic and thank you for letting me be a part of this. I was just like, holy shit. And I mean, just the culmination of everything leading up to that particular session, I think that's when it clicked for me. I was just like, oh my God, I'm actually doing it. And you know what? That was the sign that I needed and I was looking for, because that told me that you were having fun, and then follow-up conversations with everyone else telling me that they were enjoying themselves. I think, while I still self-deprecate from time to time, I think that was what solidified it for me. This is a story that's keeping their interest, and this is a story that I want to see all the way to the end. And it's because you guys bring a dimension to it, and the fact that you are enjoying it and just elevating just the bare bones structure that I have to it, and filling the personal details with your guys' characters. And then I remember telling everyone, I was just like, is this what it feels like to be an actual dungeon master, these moments right here? Because everyone talks about it, but this was the first real experience that I had. And granted, I'm probably going to keep having those because, again, fairly young DM. Hi, how you doing? But for me, as a dungeon master, it solidified, yeah, I want to see the story all the way to the end. So let's keep going with it. And which we did. And then, can we just talk about the spaceship? that particular portion of the story, that session going into the spaceship, everything that happened inside of it, and everything leading into the exploration of the sunken ship. Again, transparency is important for me. That entire session, I had no notes because I had left my notebook at my school, and it was closed during the weekend because I was doing some writing during after school hours. So that entire session, I just was off the top of my head, and I just bullshitted my way through that entire session because I was like, I don't remember what I wrote, but fuck it, we're going with it.
I'd love to see those notes of what actually was supposed to happen too, because that was pretty good by itself.
I wouldn't have noticed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be completely honest. I wasn't, because it was originally going to be planned for later down the line, but I pulled the trigger anyways. The introduction that the gods are fighting. I'm like, well, there's that plot point now.
You know, that little thing.
Had you planned the thing coming out of the skull of the thing? I can't remember
Nope.
what that was called.
Oh, the intellect devourer?
Yeah, you didn't even plan that when that happened?
Nope, I just rolled with it because I was like, because I know what the core theme that I want to go with this campaign, so I kind of just like, okay, off the top of my head, what can I think of? Intellect Devourer coming out of her head, and then y'all speared it, and then it just disappeared into a portal. Like, it was ridiculous. And then we had an acid trip because Corvus and Fila saw that same vision that Dedic and Prince had of just falling through the sea of stars and just...
Is that when we lost the fish?
No, that was after.
No, that was after, because then we went into the spaceship, y'all investigated it, you found this reflecting pool, and then there was another vision that was had, and then I forgot who it was that carried the fish relic over the pool, which...
That's me.
That was Corvus.
I fucked it up, guys. It's okay. I'm sorry.
Which prompted this very corrupted version of a Saugen coming out. And again, off the top of my head, because Hugh was just like, I'm going to try to get it with seaweed. And then I was just like, okay, we got to put the stakes up a little bit and know that shit's about to go down. Again, off the top of my head, as it touches this creature, it just disintegrates. And then it affected you, Hugh, too, because you started losing color in your arm through that whole
I put my hand in
ordeal, and it just sucked the color out of you, and like taking your life force, essentially.
Wow.
it happens.
But then we probably get one of the more lighter moments of the relic being completely gone and disappeared is we have that episode. Consent was sexy in that episode because we had our demigoddess come down, have this conversation, and then he was like, nah, we need consent before you start touching me.
Consent is sexy, though.
Just pulling out of the top of my head, the gods are fighting. She's a represent of one of the ocean goddesses, Lady Lucretia. Y'all got her sigil because you needed that to be able to go into the ocean to the sunken.
I mean, some of us did.
Some of you did. Let me tell you. So that ship was the first quote unquote dungeon that I was running. I was like, I don't really have experience with dungeons like that, so we're just gonna roll with it. And then of course, what happened? Our lovely Forcer, he decided to touch the dead body.
And then leeches everywhere.
So in hindsight, so after that episode was finished and we had signed off for the night, I was reviewing my notes. And then as I was looking at everything that happened, there was a moment where I got really worried because mind control is one of those things in any tabletop RPG that can go very well or can go very bad. And I didn't think of that at the time. And it wasn't until afterwards I'm like, oh my God, this could have gone very wrong had people not been comfortable with it, even if they did fail the role. Because I was like, mind control is not something that you should do lightly, because then it can lead to people doing very messed up things, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't.
That's true in real life too. Like, you
Yeah,
probably
and I
shouldn't
didn't
just
think of
practice
that until afterwards. So I got worried for a little bit. I'm like, holy shit, I hope no one's mad at me because their character was under the influence of this evil dead thing. I was like, oh my God, what did I do?
Oh, I was gonna say, let's not forget that I was nearly fucking killed.
You
Yeah.
died. You almost died like twice, right? Like, you
Yeah,
were almost dead and then came right back and then almost died again.
Yeah, I was 1 HP in the big boss fight, and then I was like, I don't know, I think it was like 9 when the mind control thing happened. I
Right.
nearly fucking
That was the other thing that was like eating at me a little bit too. I was like, holy shit. Like, I almost had a player character almost kill another player character. Holy crap. I need to do better when it comes to this next time.
No, that was perfect. I think that was perfectly perfect. Like, we go into a dungeon and you know what you're getting into in certain things. It's perfectly fine, Mikey. You don't need
it's
to go
supposed to
easy
be
on us.
dangerous.
Yeah.
These things can happen.
It's just
I
a
mean,
normal part of
Hey is a phrase for a
adventuring.
reason.
And it
Don't
also
touch-
affects the
don't touch-
strategy we have.
To touch dead bodies, don't fuck with leeches. Like, it's not
Don't
Fucking
let Friday
Jace.
poke anything.
exactly.
They don't let Jace anywhere near anything that was remotely dangerous.
Well, that's why
Fucking-
he ended up getting put in a big giant coffin during the big boss fight, because like we
Okay.
can't have him near there.
So let's just go into that then, because I mean, the mermaid was cool. Like, the eel was kind of cool, but that boss fight was so much fun to run for me. But there were points I was like, during this fight, I was just like, it's going back and forth. And then we had players going down. I'm like, holy shit, did I make this too difficult? But you guys still pulled it out. You were able to win, but it was tough.
The EMP dagger.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
forgot all
thank you
about
to
the
our
EMP
druid,
dagger.
the EMP dagger, and our lovely little dwarf up there.
I was hiding behind a barrel because I forgot about the EMP dagger. And I was like, I should
I got
use
basically a bladed nuke in my hands.
this. Bladed
Well, it taught us teamwork. It taught us how to work now, not having our cleric around, which we're not going to have, so we had to figure it out. I got to play healer, and also my entire strategy with that was like, oh crap, we're getting rock sword hard. I need to pin this guy to the ground somehow. Okay, let's use my giant shark form. Why the hell not?
You just torpedoed yourself into the fight.
It's not much, but it's honest to work. Body slam.
Well, what big, like big bad expects a giant like creature to just fall on them during a fight?
I
It's
mean, not many.
Hugh was a Pokemon at that moment. Hugh used Body Slam.
It was super effective.
It was super effective.
Super.
He literally
effective.
torpedo sharked himself into the.
And
I
pinned his
will
ass down.
It was.
I will say that
Those
we're
who
pretty
know
damn
Jim
close
Free
to.
of Pokemon will be familiar with the one Sharpedo.
Yes, that
Yeah,
Sharpedo used Body Slam.
it was a good back and forth. And I think again, you're as a dungeon master, my mentality is you don't win at Dungeons and Dragons. But honestly, I had to thank you guys because I love board games, card games, whatever. Who knew that? Because I like running tabletop games. I love the fact that you guys pushed me to actually start being strategic about how I started moving these pieces around the board. I was just like, okay, oh, they are all in. They're taking this serious. All right, let's step the game up real quick, which made me invoke the spells that this creature had, these black flames that was out crazy. See, the fight ended perfectly because had Tydak stayed in that coffin, because he was the only one who failed that save and got trapped in that ice coffin, like, had a couple more rounds passed, he would have been frozen. It would have been very bad.
Had a couple more rounds go by, I could have died.
yeah,
Yes,
you were going up
I
and
was
down
at
like
3
crazy.
HP.
I was like, Dedek went
That's
down.
why I started healing and
Tydak
defending.
was like trapped in the coffin. Everybody was looking bad, and then of course the coup d'etat of it all, Fila with the EMP dagger for the win.
Or
Oh
that
yeah,
they
I can do this
calling
one
it
thing. I should do that.
I have this. Oh, I don't. Did you remind me? Or you?
I
someone
did.
Someone
Yeah.
said something that
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
Because
by the way,
you had
have
thrown
that.
one of the daggers, and you're just like, shit, it missed. And you were just like, instead of going picking it up, you ran and you hid.
Yeah, quickly
And then you're just like, damn, I don't
have.
have another dagger. I'm like, you have your EMP dagger. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's
And then, of
"No,
course-
wait."
And then
And
when I
here's the
reminded
thing.
you, it's just like, how do you want to do this?
Oh man.
Farron has an extra dagger that he never uses, and it just stays on his belt for in case somebody needs it. He takes it off and hands it to him because he uses his warhammer as a great axe. So he was about to say, "Take mine, lad," and then you ran and hid, and I was like, "Never mind then."
Fila,
was-
use nuke knife.
Quick, use the nuke blade. Yeah, that's
Well,
so...
and to be fair, also he was also nearby who has his cutlass that he hasn't used in a while. Who he fenced with Fila with. He was like, "Here, take this. It's dexterity based. You'll have fun."
It was a great time. The fight was awesome. It was close, and you guys ended up pulling out the victory. There was a point, like I mentioned after we talked after the episode, because I was wondering, I was like, did I make the fight too hard? Was it not hard enough? Like, I hope it was the right amount of challenge, and it was, because it went back and forth the whole entire time.
I was like, it's exactly where it needed to be, and we were just I was stupid. Like if I wasn't as stupid that long, it would have been fine.
And then, like,
Or if
after
I
that,
hadn't have ticked off a couple of those entity things.
But then that, yeah.
those shadow serpents, man, like, it was crazy because they actually were keeping some of you guys, like, restrained. It's like,
Madness.
It was glorious. And then, of course, everything that happened afterwards, too, is just like, oh, there's people in these coffins. Wait, why do I hear the voice of this cult leader? Hold up. Who is this dude in a suit coming over and talking to you?
And then I'm like, oh, look, a box. I'll go open it.
After all that, what's in the box?
What's in the
Mimic.
box? What's in the
What's
box?
in the box, man? What's
It's
in the
always
box?
a mimic. Just assume everything's a mimic.
Don't open the box.
Don't be a mimic. Don't be
Don't
a
be
mimic.
a mimic. Don't be a mimic.
And then, of
Don't
course,
be a mimic.
when you guys got back to the surface, and then and this is actually
Well,
a good
baby.
point. So this is where I'm gonna fill in because JVL, you had to leave like
I didn't
once.
make this one.
Yeah,
I was
so
out of
this is
town.
good catch up because afterwards y'all long rested at the beach. You made your way back to Fiskerback, reported to the jar what happened, and then there was a big old party. And
I also
then
divvied up the spoils from that chest.
oh yeah, because you got the spoils from the chest. We said that you divided it up, which we can do off camera. But then the way that we concluded this arc was very interesting because as everyone was being party hardy, good old our ASMR paladin Dedek noticed that little penguin boy was missing.
Flipper boy was gone.
Flipper boy was gone, apparently, is what we're calling him now.
Flipper
But-
boy dog.
We got the revelation that Prince is a child of one of the gods.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah,
goddess
sure.
of spring, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. And then you were given a book to give him because all this creativity inspired me, like I said at the end of the episode, that this book is to be given to Prince so that way he could continue practicing a new form of magic called blossomancy, which is utilizing different plants and other floral things as magic-based attacks. So it's been a work in progress, so I'm still ironing out the details, but Prince can now use flower magic.
Prince casts Razor Leaf.
Literally, he is a grass-type
Puddle dance.
Pokemon.
He's a penguin that's a grass Pokemon? Perfect.
Empyreon had a grass subtype.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I mean, it is getting late, but I promised Wes that I would do this. So, Wesley, we're still going to have the adventure. We're going to get to it. But I would like you to do a little bit of an introduction and give a little monologue of your character because you are going to be with us for quite some time. So, I'm going to let you have the floor.
All right. So, don't know too much about where you guys ended up, but you would see a medium-sized guy with horns on top of his head sitting at a bar. One eye, one color, one eye, two eyes, two different colors. Sitting there talking to the bartender, just, I'll tell you about the days I went. Sailing away, doing my own thing, no issues, no problems. Ship went down. I had to make a few deals. Couple deals here, couple deals there. Next thing you know, I signed my life over for something. But good news is, everything's on the up and up. Feel like I got good things coming my way. Don't know what they are exactly, but good things coming my way. Just mind his own business, doing his thing.
Is this
You guys
Leela
know.
and Vila's bar?
Yep, this is currently at the Dragon Turtle Inn. So you guys are still in Fiskerback, but it's like one of those like character moments of towards the end of like an episode that's introducing the next character in the upcoming arc for
Okay, write that down. Remember that. Yeah, there's good things coming my way. Just something about certain people. Certain deities, if you will, that live under the ocean. No names mentioned. Due to, reasons. But while I'm at it, I've ever told you about the great Lord and Destroyer Cthulhu.
As you say that, one of the pamphlets just falls off the wall onto the bar.
And that's a little introduction to Amino Acid, spelled amino acid.
That was
good.
We have a Guy Ritchie villain. This is gonna be fantastic.
Yep.
So, Wes, if
so
it's
excited.
not giving too much away, do you want to tell them your class and well, I mean, I'll let you do that.
Yeah, he's a warlock with the patron of the Great Old One, and of course, I'd have to go with Cthulhu because the Great Lord and Destroyer, Cthulhu, and he's not evil entirely. Good intentions, questionable methods.
I'm just looking at the reactions across the board. Remember how I said
we'll either be very good friends or very big enemies.
I'm betting on the second one.
Yup, me
I'm banking on the
too.
second. But
so.
it'll be fun.
So remember how I told you guys at the beginning of the last episode that you guys were gonna enjoy what Wes has came up with? I hope it delivered because I could see across that you guys are super excited about this.
I'm very excited.
Man,
And you can't see on my screen, but I was literally just thrashing about like, oh my god!
So yes, if it hasn't been made obvious to the listening audience, Wesley here is going to be joining us for chapter 2 of this campaign. So he's going to be a regular cast member as we continue through the story for chapter 2, and we'll see what happens. I definitely wanted to bring in more people to kind of get to experience this game, and Wesley was just like, yo, if you ever need someone, just let me know. And I was like, can you do it tonight? And he's like, yes. I'm like, score!
And then he sat there for a bunch of hours.
I know. Sorry, Wes.
No worries. It's hilarious.
Wes, I got a question. You said he had horns, so that gives me an idea on what race they might be.
Yeah, he's definitely a tiefling because
Oh my god,
that's
this
the
is
special thing
so
for tieflings.
interesting.
Oh,
Because
tieflings
now
all
we're
the
gonna
way.
have a tiefling and a celestial paladin in the same
We'll
party.
be best of friends. Don't worry your pretty little face.
I love it so much.
Look at
If you can get along with someone else who has another god apart from yours, I'm pretty sure you'll get along with at least two of us that worship
the tension in this party. Everyone's giving each other side eye.
I mean, it's not going to be a spoiler because you guys are going to find out. But prior to this, me and Wes were talking and we were trying to establish, how this is going to work. So thankfully he agreed to this. So we'll work out the details. We'll work out the details, but the warlock is actually friends with Prince, so.
Oh,
Next step to find the raspberry beret. That's
yes, the raspberry beret is what we are looking for.
the quest for the raspberry beret.
You are going to
I
die.
think you'll
in
find
this
it in the
episode.
store.
Guys, I gotta dip out a little early. I gotta go grab dinner.
Enjoy.
I love
I'll
this
talk to
plan.
you guys
This
later.
is gonna be great. I know, and then the stuff that Mikey and I have worked on, which we have not gotten to, that just makes this
Even better.
so much fun.
I can't wait. This is going to be so good.
There's gonna be
like I said, I need episode 13 right now.
I know, yeah. There's some stuff I'm not gonna give anything away. There's gonna be a lot of different voices in one episode. There's gonna be a lot of character.
And
It's
just y'all's positive feedback. I can't wait till we come across the witch. I might get the voice of witch.
oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh, we
You
got
guys
it everywhere.
under the sea be like, why is this crab talking to me and why is he singing?
Why is he Jamaican, man?
Underneath weather.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, so I can't wait. But that is going to conclude the Fireside Chat episode. So next time when we come back, we're going to pick back up to the beginning of chapter 2, and we're going to see how our party gets back from Fisker back to Gundarlun, and how the introduction of our new party member is going to integrate into this cast, because oh boy, I'm so excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. But that is going to conclude this episode of Call of the Deep. Thank you for joining us. As always, from me and my cast of the D&D Vibe Tribe Productions, remember guys, love one another, take care of each other, and as always, let the good times roll. Until
Don't
next
forget-
episode.
Toodles.
Don't forget to tip the waitress and stay hydrated.
Oh, jeez.
This has been the Call of the Deep podcast. To support us, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download your auditory escapism in podcast form. And, while you're there, leave us a 5-star review. Even our intrepid characters are no match for the insidious algorithm, especially without your ability to cast aid on our stats. The music in this episode was Prepare for War by Alexander Nakarada. You can find all his music at serpentsoundstudios.com. Tune in next time for more hijinks from the darkest depths of the sea on the Call of the Deep.